get started again. A warm welcome to everybody and a special welcome to you, Rajesh. Thank you so much for accepting the offer to talk to us today on this webinar. I can already vouch that it's going to be a very insightful one given your experience and the work that you have done in the development sector. I am Prajakta Mony and I am co-founder BlueSkyCSR. We work in the space of CSR as a strategic end-to-end CSR partner. We are headquartered in Bangalore. And I'll just quickly share my screen once to walk through a couple of things that we do. So just a second. Yeah. Chandana, is my screen visible?
Yes, Prajakta.
Okay. We're headquartered in Bangalore and we work on design and delivery of CSR initiatives. We create, programs that are effective and built for long-term impact. And we follow this 4A methodology as Blue Sky CSR across the offerings that we have. Awareness, which is into CSR strategy advisory, orientation and sensitization workshops, stakeholder mapping, materiality, in approach. We work with organizations on the investment planning of their CSR monies, NGO identification, vetting, and working with the M&E systems around theory of change, designing their frameworks. In the application, we offer implementation tracking for the programs, capacity enablement for both CSRs as well as nonprofits, and designing employee volunteering programs. On the assessment side, we are India's first and only accredited inspection body for assessment of CSR programs. We conduct impact assessment, CSR studies, and SROI studies. These are the areas that we do in the awareness side application. I won't be going too much into that. We've worked with over 70 clients, more than 200 projects that we have assessed in the CSR domain. And these are some of the clients that we have worked with. And in addition to that, we also have worked very closely with United Way in the past, as you can see that logo here too. And so with that, I will now head on to the main agenda of today, which is to welcome Rajesh to our webinar. And just one second. I'm not able to stop sharing. Okay, is my screen still visible?
No.
Okay, all right. All right. So now getting on to the main event of today. We have with us, like I said, Rajesh Krishnan, the CEO of United Way Bengaluru. Rajesh, after nearly 2 decades of your work in the corporate sector in India and abroad, you made a transition to the social sector, which is very awe-inspiring. And your strong views, as we know, on be the change that you wish to see, has made you yourself change your course, and you took up teaching in a low income school where you taught science, maths, and English to over 140 students from grade 3 to 7. And in your words, that has been one of the most gratifying experience so far. Uh, and I think that really convinced you that that's where your passion lied. And that's when you started to volunteer with United Way Bangalore. And then a chance interaction with Mr. Prashant Prakash enabled you to turn as a full-time professional in the development sector. And the journey in the sector, as you say, is all about adaptability. Chandana, may you please mute?
Yes, Prajakta.
Okay. The journey in the sector, as you say, is all about adaptability, new learnings, and unlearning, empathy, of course. And in your words, this has really helped you to evolve as a human being every single day. And there's never been a dull day for the last 9 years. So that's amazing. And you are a stickler for detail and you have a penchant for cooking, travel, and history. And Rajesh holds a degree in industrial engineering and is a first rank holder from Karnataka University. Rajesh also holds a gold medal in marketing diploma from Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. So that's the resume of the person. But now we are going to hear from Rajesh in his own words, his experiences, his learnings in the impact sector, in the development sector. And coming to the topic for today, where we are going to focus on CSRs, non-profits, impact, and the works. So, with that, I welcome you, Rajesh, a very warm welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation to join us today on the webinar. And if you want to say a few things before we move on, please do so.
So, thank you, Prajakta, for those kind words. And also to all the participants, you know, I know Friday afternoons are very precious. And then, given the fact that next week, for many of you, annual vacations will start, but the very fact that you have signed in, you have actually put a lot of pressure on both of us. So we will have to see how interesting we can make the next 45 minutes for all of you. And as to the introduction which um, Prajakta made, personally, my own take, there's nothing special about any of these things. When people say that, oh, the great thing that's done to move over from corporate to this thing, and I don't see any greatness there. I did it because I wanted to do it. Nobody asked me to do it. And then if somebody says that, oh, by moving in, I'm going to add significant value, I will not agree with that also, because as much as I probably would have contributed, I have got much more in return from the work which I am doing. And that's what keeps me extremely gratified and the need to do more. So if any one of you thinks that moving to a development sector is like you want to do more, give to society and all, that's a misnomer. If you're having a good job and you're very happy about it, you can still contribute to society. By being in the development sector is what contributes to society is a misnomer. And I would not encourage you to do that unless you feel the need to do it. Do not do it. Yes, Prajakta, over to you. And there's nothing which I'm going to talk about United Way of Bangalore, because as a hostess, Prajakta has that unique advantage of talking about blue sky, and we are going to dive straight into the discussions. So, Prajakta, looking forward to a very exciting 45 minutes.
Great. Thank you so much, Rajesh. And over. I see a message from a participant, Uttam Banerjee, saying the volume is low. I am not experiencing that issue. So I'll request you to kindly check your volume once at your end. And if anybody else has such an issue, let us know. But so far, I'm not experiencing that. Okay,
From my
I'm
side,
able to hear Rajesh all right, actually. Rajesh, I'm able to hear you all right. So
okay, perfect, perfect. So let me see what better I can do, Uttam, but bear with me.
all right. So let us jump right in. So, Rajesh, given your extensive experience, you have seen the CSR ecosystem evolve over more than a decade. And my beginning question to you is, if you were to describe where the sector stands today, let's start about where we are in terms of maturity, processes, expectations. How would you characterize this phase we are in?
So, Prajakta, uh, the whole CSR thing has been an extremely um, interesting journey. And I would probably break it up into three parts. One is going to be the early CSR days, which is typically from 2014 onwards. And we started seeing some sort of I would probably say a bit of a maturity. And let me clarify what I mean by maturity is people started taking these discussions very seriously, especially inside the corporate organizations. We could see also the NGOs kind of pulling up their socks. This is during the period between 2017 to 2020.
Mhm.
And then came the COVID period, which is 2020 up to 2022 and 23 onwards. Now, few very interesting things happened during this time, along with the COVID. which is the changes in the laws.
Yeah.
Because pre-COVID days, CSR was more from a compliance, and it was merely relegated to the fact that if the corporate donates the fund, irrespective of the identified causes, they are well within their compliance to kind of complete the bookwork. And
Absolutely.
the primary onus of that would fall on the NGO or the implementing partners. Post-COVID and during COVID, when certain key amendments were brought in, which is where a lot of changes happened. And one of the significant amendment was that it is no longer about fund disbursement, but it is about utilization of those funds, which changed the whole ball game. And added to that came up this topic of FCRA, where they said the subgranting is completely ruled out, which
Yeah.
made majority of the organizations to kind of look for what are the alternate means. And primary among them was to see that from being an organization which could anchor projects, we'll also have to become an implementer of projects. Now,
True.
the language I am using is something which only the development sector professionals will be very comfortable with. So if anybody is not so and you're grappling with, you'll have to pardon me. The other people who will be comfortable is the corporates, because both of the corporate as well as the implementing partners are together in this journey. Now,
Yeah.
this is where major structural changes happened. And the development sector as well as the corporate then became truly partners, because the responsibility no longer lies with the implementing partner specific to execution of the project. It also fell onto the shoulders of the corporates, because the CFO finally had to sign off on the document, which kind of fixed in the primarily accountability with the corporates.
Yeah.
So this has been the journey of the CSR from 2014, and now that almost a decade has passed. Now, the other interesting aspect is we have seen evolution of this CSR. And when I say evolution, today, this topic of CSR is becoming increasingly a very serious discussion in the corporate boardrooms as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is no longer in the fringes. Why I say this is because from my own experience, I still vividly remember the days of 2018-19, where probably in the month of January or sometimes even on March 25th, you will be called in and there'll be probably a few minutes of discussion, and there'll be just 3 or 4 people in the room, and then we all agree to change the world. And after that, we probably would be meeting sometime during September to discuss what is that we should be doing with the funds which were deployed in March. That has changed. Today, I see a lot of maturity at the corporate partners level as well, where some of these discussions happen way before in July. And we also work with a few of the corporate partners who are actually signing off on the projects for the succeeding financial year before March. This is a reflection of the maturity. And
Okay.
if you ask me, is this adequate? No. But then this is a significant progress which we are making. And I'm sure in the next few years, it's going to get better.
Okay.
Second point is, while this is from the corporate side, which we are talking about, I think at the NGO side also, there has been a lot of churn. And
Okay.
people who are able to adapt and they are able to be agile are the ones who's going to succeed. And it's extremely important that the NGO side also, we all collectively pull up our socks. Otherwise, very soon we are going to be out of favor, despite the best of intentions. And at this point of time, I just want to call out the irony facing the sector.
Okay.
Any conversation with the corporates, one topic which comes up is, oh my God, can we get some good NGOs?
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to the NGO ecosystem, they always end up telling, oh my God, it's so difficult to get funds.
Yeah, true. Very
Which
true.
is the most, ironical thing to encounter.
Mm.
And surprisingly, the answer lies with both the parties.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something which I really want to bring to the fold. And in conclusion, just want to tell you that there is abundant opportunity. There is abundant opportunity. In fact, I always tell people that the development sector is the next or the new sunrise sector,
Yeah. Mm.
which is going to provide huge opportunities for a lot of people.
Mm.
And a lot of professionals should seriously consider this as a career path, not necessarily as an alternative career path, but as a serious career path.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying, Rajesh, that the true partnership that you talked about, I mean, these are some of the things that are definitely coming up. And with this happening, there is absolutely a very potential, promising way the sector can move ahead. So, thanks for your thoughts on this. I'll move on to the next question that I've been like wanting to ask you, which was that with respect to the programs that you have run at United Ways, uh, what have they revealed about where capacity gaps most affect the delivery of impact? Is it at the design stage? Is it at the implementation? Is it at measurement or governance? And do you see any patterns in which types of organizations are better able to translate the funding into measurable outcomes? Like, is there a secret sauce?
You know what? If it was secret, I would never have shared it with you. Okay, here is the take, Prajakta, and this is where probably I'm going to speak out my mind, not as a United Way resource alone.
Sure, sure.
Because if you ask me, the biggest critique in the organization is me. And if some of my colleagues are on the call or are going to listen to this at a later date, I'm sure they're going to come on me as a ton of bricks. But here is what I'm going to say. From the NGO perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I think we are not good in our storytelling. Okay?
Okay.
We are we are extremely passionate people, or that is how we like ourselves to be known to the outside world. Let me bring that caveat.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not very good storytellers.
Mm.
And to all the points which you have made, whether it is from making a proposal to articulating it well, then maybe implementing it, stages of implementation, even an
Mm.
M&D aspect, an impact aspect in all areas, it's
Mm.
extremely important to figure out if we can keep emotions slightly aside and bring in a lot more data-driven approach.
Mm-hmm.
Because we must acknowledge the fact that today the corporates and the auditors at their end are very keen to see data.
Mm-hmm.
They are very keen to see how the fund which they are deploying is actually effectively utilized. And it's also extremely important that when we get into the field, half of the battle is actually on the drawing board before we
Okay.
actually get on the field. Because many times we come across situations where we are actually learning on the go with somebody else's fund, which actually is not a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
And one
Okay.
of the things which I always tell my colleagues um, is that, none of us here in the development sector are designing a Gaganyaan. We are, we are playing with people, with the stakeholders, and most of us know exactly what needs to be done at a very high level. Then
Mm-hmm.
why there is so much of a chaos and a confusion? Now, the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I'm telling this is in my current role, uh, I wear multiple hats, but the two distinct hats I wear are one, One as an implementing partner, where we are the face to the corporate and the community. And then second is we are also deployment partners for some of the NGOs, where we work with them and make sure that we pass on the funds and the project gets executed. In
Right.
both the cases, I find that there is serious gaps in communication.
Mm-hmm.
People must learn to be very, very effective and professional in their communication, and extremely important to keep it consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I vividly recall at least two or three of our donors coming back and telling, Rajesh, for God's sake, communicate, and we are okay even if you over communicate, because we will filter it out. But
Okay.
where it kind of puts us off is that when we have to ask for information,
Mm-hmm.
so it will be very good if we can be a little proactive. Then the second aspect is it's also extremely important to call out in the proposal and keep constantly reiterating what
Mm.
the project entails and
Mm.
clearly defined outputs and outcomes.
Right.
Because one of the very loosely worded term is impact.
Yep. Mm.
And this is something which we have all encountered day in and day out.
Yeah.
But the question I ask myself is, what have we done to
Mm.
bring this clarity out even to the corporates? Because you know what? Uh, while the corporates come with a good intention, they want to support, they have a fairly good idea about what the areas of work needs to be, but they may not be very clear about these nuances. And it's extremely important for us to articulate these things. The clear difference between an output, an outcome, and an impact, and to call it out. And one
Mm.
of the things which I am consciously trying to um, do it myself, despite being a biz dev guy all through my career, is the fact that we are not sales organizations. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I find it very, very appalling to see NGOs making sales pitches. And I get a lot of pitches personally every week.
Okay.
And you find it bordering bordering to be actually disgusting, because the content is so poor and hollow. And
Uh-huh.
hence, it's extremely important we are very clear and calling these things out in all the stages. So, to your point, it is not necessarily at one stage that I'm going to call out. I'm going to call out the entire life cycle approach. And last but not the least, I want to conclude by telling, having chosen to be in the development sector,
Mm-hmm.
one needs to be an eternal optimist, and there's no room for sarcasm. Because trust me, there is enough of that which is already there, and this is not a very easy space to be in.
Yeah.
And hence, we must make sure we keep these things together always.
Thanks, Rajesh. And the last time we had connected, you also made a very pertinent point about credibility being the key asset for the development sector organization. So I think the point that you made about communicating at the cost of over communicating, I think really bridges that for me, because it there have, I mean, I've also been a part of situations where the after the MOU there is no communication from the partner, and then suddenly one day there is a report that comes out, and it's very difficult for corporates to wrap their head around, okay, so what exactly happened here. So thanks for sharing that. I am especially now going to point towards, we have a lot of nonprofit uh, folks from the nonprofit who are with us today, Rajesh. So I'm going to ask this question on, for the nonprofits that are listening in, what really, according to you, differentiates organizations, nonprofit organizations that become long-time CSR partners versus those that remain in that project-based grantees? What do you see is going to help us make that shift?
Prajakta, that's a good question. And this is where probably I'm going to use this word of what we call as a trusted advisor. Okay? Let us, nonprofits, for a minute, do not underestimate ourselves. We carry certain expertise. Of course, there are gaps which we will consciously try and see how we can bridge it. Let us become good subject matter experts in terms of what we do. Okay? Second, communicate. And third, make sure that the work speaks for itself. Where we kind of, I would probably say, goof up is the fact that in the uh, in the bargain to probably gain more funds and other things, we dilute our own projects. I find it disgusting when I find some of the partners coming. I'm here referring to implementing partners coming and saying, okay, what is your budget? Then accordingly, I'll make my project.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And even for the corporates, I think we should be in a position to hold our ground to say, this is how it's going to look like. And if this is your funding, then we may have to probably relook at what your expectations are. Second and most important, it is extremely, for us, it will be important to know our donors. It will
Mhm.
be important to know who your corporate partner is going to be. What are their needs?
Mhm.
What do they stand for? What do they want to communicate through their brand? How does their sustainability report look like?
Mhm.
In fact, how many of us actually go prepared for a meeting? I see many of the times, many of the NGO partners who probably claim to come with 20 years, 30 years of experience, always bank upon their experience to
Mhm.
come and make a presentation. But how many of us even know our donors
Mhm.
in terms of what they need? I think it will be important to kind of go prepared because that also shows our commitment and how
Mhm.
serious we are in this
Mhm.
particular aspect. So I think it's got to do with a mix of all these things. And
Mhm.
lastly, but very, very important, is the point which you made previously, Prajakta, is unlike the corporates which have a P&L,
Mhm.
what is that we have
Mhm.
other than the body of work and making sure that
Mhm.
there is a proper income expenditure statement so that we don't go under? The only asset we have is credibility.
Yeah.
That's the only bankable asset we have, and that is
Mhm.
something which doesn't happen overnight. It comes with a lot of patience and consistent hard work.
Mhm.
And we must constantly strive to hold ourselves to that highest standards. So these are some of the few things. So if you ask me, is there one magic bullet? I'm sorry, this would more sound like an AK-47. There are multiple elements to this thing, and then all of this needs to happen at the same time.
But I see a hand raise from Wency Dabre. So, Wency, you could please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question.
Okay. Hello. So my name is Vensi. Currently, I'm working in RR Kabi Limited Company as a CSR. So I worked in both the segment NGO as well as CSR. So major challenge, what I feel, I do agree with Rajesh sir. The NGOs are poor in the storyteller, but what I personally feel, don't have a proper system where they capture the data of the projects. So they and the corporates are looking for the data, and NGO do not have that proper system where they capture the data and they represent the data. So the major problem of while implementing the projects, the implementing agencies or NGOs have that issue. So my question is to Rajesh sir, while submitting the proposals, can I propose the separate funds for the data management systems, MIS, photographs, videographs? Because somehow sometimes they they adjust with the donors' budgets, NGOs. So that is a big issue. So it is my question to Rajesh sir.
So, Vensi, thank you for your question. And where are you based out of?
Mumbai, sir, Mumbai.
Oh my God. If you were in Bangalore, then I would have invited you for lunch. And I'll tell you why. It's very nice that you're thinking on these lines where you're talking about earmarking certain funds for such activity. Now, does the law permit? Of course, the law permits. Yes, this is one of the gaps which I have called out in terms of data. Now, there are many NGOs which are actually getting much, much better. And if you ask me, United Way, it is a work in progress. From where we were in 2016 to where we are today, we are miles ahead, and progression has been made, but still a lot more work needs to happen. But there are also many other small NGOs doing excellent work, but still grappling with this. And one of the challenges for this is one, access to good resources, which comes at a cost. And second is good technical or technological platforms, which again comes at a cost. So from the corporate side, it may actually be a very good idea to look at investing in these things. Secondly, if you're very happy with your existing NGO, despite the fact that they are not great in storytelling, not great in having the data, but you know that they are doing good work, I would suggest please remain invested with them and see how you can build your capacity. Because very soon, corporates are going to reach a stage where you're going to be loaded with funds and you're going to struggle to give out money because of the various filters that we use, that you will not be able to find NGOs, that many NGOs. And very soon you will have to have these funds given to either the PM fund or the CM fund, and which many of you are not very keen to do also. And I hope all of you are also cognizant of the fact that this December 5th, a CSR amendment bill has been introduced in the Lok Sabha, which everybody seems to be hoping that it will pass through. Just imagine the floodgates that's going to open in the short term.
True.
So, Vensi, to the point, please go ahead and continue to support that, because you're going to do a big service to the sector.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Thanks, Rajesh. There is a question, I think it's more from Ravindra Sinha, who says many non-profits are registered as trusts and societies under the state law. So is it necessary or recommended that such non-profits should form Section 8 as the entire development sector is becoming corporatized, is his question?
Okay, Ravindra, the answer for this is United Way Bangalore is a society. Now, is it a good practice to go and become a Section 8 company? The answer is certainly yes. Is that what's going to happen over a period of time? Absolutely yes. Now, I am a little wary of using this word called corporatization of the NGOs. And now, I'm not sure if that means it is being sounded off as a little derogatory, or it is that you're trying to eulogize the corporates. No, there are devils and saints in both the areas, both the corporate side as well as on the NGO side. So, we are who we are. If we become a Section 8, the processes and governance are going to become a little more stringent, which is good for us. And even if we continue to be a society and a trust, there is enough opportunity to make sure that we are above board and making sure the governance and compliance can be stringent. So the answer for your pointed question is that is a welcome move.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question, Ravindra. Thanks, Rajesh. There is I'm now slightly going to move the conversation in the direction of impact measurement, which is a area that is very close to my heart. I've been working in this space for several years now and being trained in the field of data and statistics. I think I care deeply for this space as well. So now, Rajesh, impact measurement is often viewed as a reporting requirement. And in your experience, what makes it really genuinely useful for both donors and nonprofits? Where have you seen this really stand out and building? You talked about credibility, building trust. So where do you see it adding the most value, and what are some of the things we should be doing and should not be doing, therefore?
So, Prajakta, there's one thing which keeps bothering me, or especially on this topic of impact assessment.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a little ridiculous when people reduce impact assessment to mere collection of data, and then presenting it in fancy charts, you know, putting all the Canva and all those kind of stuff to see, can we make a pie chart, can we make a bar chart, histogram, and all those kind of stuff.
Mm.
For me, data must tell stories.
Mm-hmm.
For me, data must give me insights for me to help make a decision whether what I'm doing is the right thing that I'm doing. Data must help me do course correction if required. And data must also help me communicate a larger story if there is a profound change that is happening so that more people can be benefited by this. Let us ask this question to ourselves. How many of us have gone back to our corporate partners
Mm-hmm.
or even to government or even to the stakeholders, probably a panchayat or a school, to say that, hey, this is what I figured out over a period of 1 year, 2 year.
Mm.
And these are all the points.
Mm.
Maybe we should have a conversation around this.
Mm.
How many of us have had the guts to even go back to a corporate 6 months down the project and say, hey, you know what? Sorry, while I told you this, but the data on the field shows this particular thing. We may have to do a course correction.
Mm.
Because many a times what we do, capture data, submit it. Now we are also very happy because 70% of the time corporates also don't do a deep dive. They are all very happy that the project is come to a close and there is a grand event. Everybody are happy. The
Mm.
has exchanged tea, coffee, and other things, and we all go back.
Mm.
But I think from a very sincere, development sector professional, and like me, I'm sure there are many. I think we should start very, very seriously looking at data, and
Mm.
we should also make sure that the data is able to communicate certain hard-hitting facts on even whether we have to take it up or not.
Mm-hmm.
And please remember, SROI impact assessment is here to stay.
Mm.
There is no way we can hoodwink this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And hence, when we design the project, we also make sure that these elements are accounted for. Because many a times we would encounter the situation that M&D or an impact assessment team is called in sometimes when the project is almost on the verge of completion, or
Completion. Yeah.
probably three-fourths of the project is getting over. I'm
Mm.
sorry, that is not a right way to do. We
Mm.
have had that situations in United Way as well, I must confess.
Mm.
However, we have been changing that, and it is still a work in progress, but I'm very glad that at least internally teams have started thinking and being aligned about it. And
Mm.
remember one more thing, this is a behavior change.
Yep.
It is not that only one person in the organization should be driving it. People should start feeling this. Otherwise, very soon, we are going to become irrelevant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the behavior change point hits really hard, and your bit about engaging with at the very point of design what we are going to measure, what data we are going to collect, how we are going to collect, with what frequency, is something that should absolutely be criminal to be left as an afterthought. So uh, I think that change to do what's called as front load thinking. How do we think through this problem solving in a way that we have the solution also, and how we are going to track the solution, that's going to lend credibility to the assessment of impact. Thanks for that, Rajesh. I have two hands raised, so I'm going to call upon Uttam Banerjee and followed by Mili Kumari to ask your questions, please.
Hi, hi, Rajesh. This is Uttam. Uh, 2016-17, you were talking of. So Manish was there that time. Remember, it is really echoing my thought process, what you are now talking about, transparency and the way we should present ourselves as an NGO. So best that we catch up and sometime we talk further on that. But only one point what we can discuss over here is that what I have observed those days, I have also come from the corporates and joined recently those 2016-17, and I saw a gap in communications between the partners and the NGO partners and the associates like United Way or Concern India, that that you are putting someone to look after that particular NGO, and he is visiting once in a year to that particular NGO's projects. So the NGO understands that he is coming on so and so date, so I'll keep everything ready on so and so date, so nothing to worry about, and keep everything ready. Don't worry, just get into the work. So if your habit changes, the NGO habit changes. So if you come and say that you have to give monthly report, and someone has to come every even without any notice, someone to visit the projects and see the reality on the ground, reality what is actually happening, and that way the NGO habits will also change. This is what I wanted to say. I want to discuss further, maybe personally when with you. Thank you.
Sure, Uttam. I think we can do that. But just one point I want to emphasize to the statement which you made. I would rather bring the change upon myself immediately and not wait for somebody to come and constantly, visit me to drive home that change. I have a
Yep.
responsibility given the fact that I have received your funds. You have reposed trust in me, and you know that I'm going to do a good job. So the onus is more on me to make sure I do the same thing daily correctly and not wait for you to come and keep an eye. Between 2016 and 2024-25 and going forward, I can also see a lot of changes, because to the point which you made earlier, probably in a year they would visit once. The same people today in a year are visiting 6 times. So things are changing. So
Hmm.
that is one thing which I have observed, and it's a welcome change. Sometimes it is a little painful, but then that's the reality.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Raj.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. Yeah, good to know
I
that it has changed. I look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Uttam. I'll move to Milli Kumari. Milli Kumari, please go ahead and ask your question. Milli Kumari, are you there? Okay, maybe you are not able to hear us. Okay, I'm just looking at. All right, Rajesh, I am going to take the next question for. You did allude to what's changing, what's coming up, right? Um, So, the upcoming shifts, regulatory or structural, I want your views on how you will think it will most reshape how CSR funds are flowing, how NGOs need to be prepared, and especially what I sense, and this is my point of view, that with the barrier of the potential bill, which is bringing down, in fact, the barrier of entry into CSR for corporates, we'll see ticket sizes getting smaller, because if it's going to be a 3 lakh, if it's going to be a 3 crore profit, a 2% of that is nearly 6 lakhs. So I'd love to pick your brain on how do you see roles of institutions like UW future oriented, to see how this money really should gets channelized.
So Prajakta, here is my take on that. I am not going to look at it from this perspective of the ticket size going to become small. And
Okay.
I'll tell you why. This year, probably year ended March 2025, the sector would have collectively raised from a CSR perspective probably around 35,000 crores.
Hmm.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
is that a big amount, small amount? Again, you'll have to put it in context. Uh, the BMC Corporation, which is
Hmm.
Mumbai's, which is the
Hmm.
largest corporation in India, has
Hmm.
an annual budget of around 74,000 crores.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, compared to that, we are talking of 35,000 crores national CSR.
Hmm.
I mean, it can also be a joke.
Hmm.
However, we realized that everybody today talks about CSR, right from the Prime Minister to the Panchayat Development Officer. So CSR is important and it is gaining the attention it deserves. And the very fact that they are going to bring this law, it's only going to open a floodgates, because the bigger ones are now going to probably put in more money, and so-called the smaller ones are also going to come into the bandwagon, which is good. The second aspect is, look at the NGO ecosystem. I was looking at some data which came from Satwa and a couple of others. And they said that out of this, there are only probably 20-25 NGOs in the country which have crossed the 100 crore fund utilization mark.
Okay.
100 crore fund utilization mark, 2025. In the Darpan portal, we have about 1.75 lakh NGOs registered.
Yep.
There is another data to show 80 to 85% of the NGOs are in the range of 1 crore to 2 crore fund utilization mark. So what are we talking about here? I mean, just close your eyes. If somebody is going to come in front of your office and says, my dear Prajakta, here take 10 crores and execute a project to me before March 31st, in all probability, you will say, sorry, sir, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is money coming to your doorstep and you say no because you're holding yourself to the accounting standards. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, are we ready? Second, what are we going to do to become ready? These are extremely important questions for that. And you will also be surprised that most of the so-called top NGOs and others we are talking are all talking to the same top 100 corporates.
Corporates, yeah.
So you go to one corporate, you will see definitely that there's going to be an Akshay Patra, there's going to be an United Way, there's going to be somebody, you will find them. And then you're like, is this what it is? When you have so many other corporates also going around? Because for some of us, we probably would have gotten into a comfort space also. And if somebody wants to sincerely succeed in this sector, this is the right time to be in, and there's a huge opportunity. So all that I'm asking all the corporates and also to the NGOs primarily is, guys, it's time that we pull up our socks and put in about enough efforts to make sure we are strengthening our capacities to deliver, and that when this happens, we are ready to face it.
Rightly so. There is, Millie Kumari, are you there for question you want to ask? Okay, there is no response. It's a question from Rajesh about the new tweak. Question for Rajesh, sorry, from Sriram of United Way. What are some of the points that you see is going to benefit the sector in the new tweaks or amendments? At the same time, is there anything that the NGO should be cognizant of?
Okay.
Sorry.
So, Prajakta, you can be assured I did
Yes,
not
yes, I
ask
know
him to
about
ask that question. I did not nudge him to ask that question.
I've already subscribed
So
to
I think I have answered that question in my previous points which I made. But yes, for all of us who are in the development sector, be assured that we have a lot of work to do. We have secured jobs. All we need to do is that we do things correctly, okay, as is expected out of us. And I'm sure there's huge opportunity for well-intentioned, hardworking people in the development sector. And Prajakta, in the impact space, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity, because today I see a lot of corporates wanting to pick up multi-year projects and each year crossing 1 crore of rupees. And there it's going to become extremely important. And one of the things which I'll also request people like you, because you can play a very key role here, is also to influence NGOs and also to the corporates to start thinking on these lines in terms of what true impact is, how it needs to be done. and not only wait till the last minute and trying to see if we can backward integrate things. Yes.
True.
So if we can work together, I think there's going to be a huge opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally taking that advice to heart, Rajesh, and already working on it. So thank you so much for calling that out. I'm conscious of the time here. We are at 4:27, so I'll like to take this to closure, Rajesh. And I first of all thank you so much for sharing your insights, which only come from somebody who has worked deeply across corporates, non-profits, with communities, and what we have heard today is that overall the CSR ecosystem, including the whole ecosystem, the non-profits, the funders, donors, we are at an inflection point where funding, then the expectations, accountability, they are all evolving together, and each one of us have a role to play in shaping the ecosystem and take it to where it really needs to be at the height of, given that in India we are the only country where we have this 2% mandate. And in reflection, impact also, as you articulated, is not uh, thinking afterwards as to, oh, what is the impact that we created, but to start building those narratives, those numbers alongside. And it also goes hand in hand with the trust, the communication, the discipline, the ability to translate our resources into real outcomes. So that's very hard hitting. And at, as Blue Sky, I speak for Blue Sky, our intent is really in hosting these conversations so that it gets all of us together to help build the ecosystem, move towards a shared language, if you may, of impact, of way of thinking through things, one that supports us in better decision making and forging stronger partnerships. I think it's not a space to compete with each other, it's a space absolutely to collaborate. So on that note, thank you so much, Rajesh, for joining us today. I really appreciate you sharing all your nuggets, your pearls of wisdom. And I also take this opportunity to thank everyone who's joined us today. Thank you for joining in, for asking your questions, sharing your opinions, and we look forward to continuing this dialogue further. Thank you so much to everybody. Have a great Friday evening, a great weekend, and a very happy new year to all of you from Blue
Thank
Sky.
you, Prajakta, and looking forward. See you all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Signing off here.